that on a fast track that's technical, he can keep up with the McLarens. For some reason, they don't have a super tire advantage on those types of tracks. It's on very slow, spacious tracks with long, slow corners or tight corners. They do well. But still, this was surprising because he was actually outpacing them in the front. And I think Piastri had to stop for tire stops. So people are saying that with the way that he did and with the way that Red Bull performed with pace-wise and didn't have tire drop-off, and also Ferrari, these teams may have figured out McLaren's cooling trick, and a lot of people think it's the brake ducts. I'm not sure if that's the case, but it seems to be a marked improvement by both Ferrari and Red Bull in terms of tire preservation and race pace. So I think part of it is because of the track. It was a high-speed track, and McLaren is losing an advantage. But I think also part of it is because Red Bull and Ferrari are bringing in upgrades and improving tire management, improving balance, improving their rear suspension and everything. And that might be also part of why they're doing so much better. And McLaren seems to be dropping off. What do you think, Mr. Johnny? People are very surprised because of Red Bull's pace, because everybody believed that, okay, Verstappen may be good over one lap and the Red Bull with him is good under one lap, but McLaren should have a fantastic pace. I think we should have a caveat to that because at every fast track this year, Verstappen has had equal pace to them and maybe just a little bit behind. Even in Jeddah where he came, not Jeddah, I think it was in, Jeddah where he came second or third, he got the pole position. And even though he came second or third, he was still like just a few seconds behind Piastri and Norris. I think he came second. He was only a few seconds behind Piastri, which showed that on a fast track that's technical, he can keep up with the McLarens. For some reason, they don't have a super tire advantage on those types of tracks. It's on very slow, spacious tracks with long, slow corners or tight corners. They do well. But still, this was surprising because he was actually outpacing them in the front. And I think Piastri had to stop for tire stops. So people are saying that with the way that he did and with the way that Red Bull performed with pace-wise and didn't have tire drop-off, and also Ferrari, these teams may have figured out McLaren's cooling trick, and a lot of people think it's the brake ducts. I'm not sure if that's the case, but it seems to be a marked improvement by both Ferrari and Red Bull in terms of tire preservation and race pace. So I think part of it is because of the track. It was a high-speed track, and McLaren is losing an advantage. But I think also part of it is because Red Bull and Ferrari are bringing in upgrades and improving tire management, improving balance, improving their rear suspension and everything. And that might be also part of why they're doing so much better. And McLaren seems to be dropping off. What do you think, Mr. Johnny?
Oh yeah, man. Verstappen did very well. I actually predicted that he'll come fourth. I think.
Yeah,
I said fourth. But he surprised me, man, and I was really surprised with the performance of that the Red Bull car itself. Apart from Verstappen's trickery at the beginning and his maneuvering, but but the car actually then took over performance. I mean, the McLarens could not even catch them.
Yeah, the pace. Yeah. So do you think the pace has to do with maybe they figured out the tire preservation thing, or do you think it's a combination of they figured out the tire thing, and also this is a fast track, which doesn't put it's not rear limited. It doesn't put a lot of pressure on the back tires. And in general, when it's not hot and when they're not on tracks where you need a lot of high downforce, McLaren doesn't have the advantage. So do you think it's a mix of it all, or do you think that they've actually figured out the tire thing?
And those two and front air, clean air. He also had, clean air. Any car that has clean air would always, be on the optimal performance. So, and even that Red Bull too as well. Just if that Red Bull has clean air.
Just very quick before to jump in. I'm going to jump in quickly though. If you remember though, Verstappen was leading, and was it in Miami? He was leading up for 30 laps. So that clean air thing didn't make a difference for McLaren. They still did well, even though they were in dirty air, because they still passed him.
Yeah,
so but it has to be more than just clean air. Go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
But one of those factors were not there. The brake ducts, they didn't have that brake duct.
Yeah. So I think we can agree that it was a combination of Verstappen having clean air, but also those ducts.
Yes.
So I'm going to read quickly before we go to Kunle, because we know Kunle is the greatest improviser, and he's going to take us on some circuits. Very quickly, Red Bull brought in some upgrades, and I think Planet F1 talked about them. So basically what they did is they changed their floor in Miami, and they said, okay, the floor by itself is not everything. Then here they changed the rear suspension. Here at Imola, they changed the rear suspension. And then they also had changed their inlet, outlet. But the main change that they made, which they think is giving them, which might have negated McLaren's tire advantage, which is helping them with tire advantages. Taking into account all of that with the brake ducts, they've improved their aero efficiency and their tire cooling. So it seems like Red Bull is getting better all season. And as you said, Mr. Johnny, by the time we get to Spain, the shit's going to hit the fan for McLaren because you get
It's
all
going
these
to be
fast tracks.
carnage, man.
It's going to hit the fan. What are your thoughts, Kunle?
Oh no.
Oh, Kunle, can you hear me? Yeah, what are your thoughts? Yeah.
Yeah. It's like as if he's about to know I'm about to talk. They wanted to block.
No, your
So
hands
yeah,
were up
what I
because
was
somebody
actually
was
going to
going
say
down
is
on you. Your hands were up. Somebody was going down on you.
yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, so when you look at the McLarens, let me take you down. Let me take you down the road of Mr. Toad.
The
When
rabbit
you look
house.
at the two McLarens, the tire management of Norris's car was far better than Piastri's towards the end. You saw Piastri was on old
Even
tires.
at the beginning.
And
Even at the beginning, Piastri had to pit in lap 14. But go ahead. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
To the car, it may well be down to the driver and the ability of Piastri, because Piastri and Norris started on the same tire. I believe it was only Antonelli and Hamilton that started on hard tires. I think everyone else started on mediums. So they both had the same tire management strategy. But towards the end, I think Norris didn't. Is it that Norris had fewer stops? Because his tires were much fresher at the end, much fresher than Piastri's. Piastri was managing.
I think they called him Piastri too early, quite early.
They called him too early. Too early. His tires were like 12 or 16 laps. 16 laps.
For one reason or the other. I don't know why they even called him in early. You know?
Yeah.
Well, I think that he was actually complaining about problem with his tires, or McLaren noticed a problem in the tires of that car. So it remains a mystery. Was it down to driver ability or was it down to the car? That's my question.
Here's what I think. After Piastri got passed by Verstappen, Verstappen really suckered him. He didn't believe Verstappen would do that. I think he reverted to his old self and started panicking and wasn't driving smoothly and wasn't managing his tires because he was a little bit anxious. He got caught off guard and he probably lost his cool a little bit and he didn't manage his tires because there's no reason he had to pit at 14 laps. And when they interviewed him after the race, he said, I felt the tires felt a little bit off. So he wasn't confident in the tire. Maybe the tire itself wasn't dropping. He just wasn't confident in the tire. And maybe it was dropping a little bit because he wasn't managing his tires well. Because you're right, Norris managed them well. And so where Piastri really, even though he had already lost the race, but where he lost a position to Norris was that he pitted early, like Mr. Johnny said, pit at 14 laps. There's no way that's McLaren tire. That's him. Either it's in his mind that the tire was
I don't know.
Or I think what it was, he was pushing, and because he couldn't catch Verstappen, he started pushing that car more than he should have, and he didn't manage the tires. I think that's all. And also dirty air. What do you think, Mr. Johnny?
The Williamses and Astons had the same problem. All those cars that are in that top 10 that are not normally the top fastest all pitted about the same time. So I think I don't know whether Piastri did follow the herd mentality and just followed everyone inside.
Yeah, I think it was Leclerc. He started it all off, but he just went in there, changed, because he said he can't use his tires at the end or something like that. So he changed his tires, and everybody started panicking. And Piastri.
And the funny thing is, Leclerc's tires, I think he used them in practice. Maybe that's why they were older. So
yeah, they had different problems actually because they didn't have enough tires, that. So he came in early. They were trying something out, and then he came in. Then everybody, I don't know, Piastri just. They panicked and then they brought him in early too as well. But,
so what I say, if Piastri wants to be a champion, do you guys remember when Vettel had bad tires and Jenson Button was on his ass and Vettel kept on going? I don't even care if my tire burst. When you're on the tail of Verstappen, you're trying to win a championship. As long as Verstappen doesn't pit, you shouldn't pit. You're pitting at 14.
You stay there.
You stay there. You say, okay, let me manage my tires. Verstappen wouldn't have pitted. But he would complain. He'll start sliding. You know how Verstappen was sliding, but he refused to pit. His car was sliding because the tires were grained. So Piastri may have had some graining, but if you want to be a champion, you can't pit like that. Then when he pit, he got caught behind all these slow cars that slowed him down.
And also then the pitch and the safety cars also caused a bit of a bit of confusion too as well. But
Well,
yeah,
the safety car saved Piastri. I believe without that safety car, Piastri could have lost about 2 or 3 spaces at the end.
you might
Because
have. Yeah,
that
the
Antonelli
third
safety
safety car
car
saved him. Yeah, the third
was
safety
how
car.
many laps? 15, 16 laps? Maybe I'm
Yeah,
exaggerating.
and if you guys notice, so just to show you that, first of all, Red Bull can warm their tires very well, and they still have a pace advantage to McLaren apparently on that track. As soon as they did the safety car, after the first lap, Verstappen was 1.5 seconds ahead again. Do you get my point?
Mm-hmm.
So it's clear that that Red Bull car is performing well. And Red Bull, see, McLaren is a design team. They have a good concept, good balance and everything, good tire day. But Red Bull is an old school engineering team. They know how to set up their car from race to race. And we have to give credit to them. They brought some upgrades because at the beginning of this year, people were saying Verstappen would be lucky to come fifth. But let's switch a little bit